Revealed. How choosing integrity over money led to my life-changing transformation at 25. Jake Mason stood at the crossroads of his life, the weight of expectation pressing down on his shoulders like a leaden blanket. In his small blue-collar town of Greenfield, he was a beloved figure, known for his tireless work at his father's auto repair shop. The smell of motor oil and the clanging of tools had raised him, knitting him into the fabric of the community. But now, as a hotshot corporate offer dangled in front of him 6 figures, benefits, his heart raced with a dizzying mixture of temptation and dread. Could he really leave this life behind? Integrity is worth more than any paycheck. His father's voice echoed in his mind, stark against the glittering lure of wealth. Over the years, Jake had watched his father, a proud veteran, pour his soul into the shop. Late nights, grease-stained hands, and a heavy heart when bills piled up. Now, as the prospect of financial security glimmered like a mirage, Jake felt the familiar conflict gnawing at him. He envisioned his mom's smile when she'd finally be free of worry, his sister's laughter ringing in a house without the heavy shadow of debt. But then there was Angela, his childhood friend, a single mother battling the rampant discrimination in Greenfield, reaching out for help, holding a dream of revival for their old high school automotive program. Her struggles weighed heavily on him, mingling with the memories of their carefree days, shared laughter, and the lessons learned in the community shop. As tensions bubbled at home, a heart-wrenching family dinner exploded. The love in their voices morphed into fiery arguments. His mother wanted security, his father demanded loyalty, and Jake found himself in the center, torn apart like an old engine left to rust. "You think money will solve everything?" His father's voice cracked, anger and despair mingling as the words sliced through the air. The room filled with silence after that bitter exchange. Even the clatter of dishes paused. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Just when clarity seemed impossible, Jake was swept back into the heart of the community. The day of repairs adorned the shop with warmth and color. Laughter rang through the air. Children scurried about, their energy contagious. Old friends embraced, neighbors shared heartfelt stories, and in that moment, the garage transformed into a sanctuary filled with hope. The faces he recognized from childhood painted memories on his heart. Here, he understood, was his legacy, one born from blood, sweat, and tears. Yet, while he leaned towards that shimmering corporate opportunity, a scandal erupted about the conglomerate. It was a sunken ship, whispers of deceit swirling in the air. As he watched the town's admiration turn to wary judgment, reality crashed in. Was chasing after a paycheck worth tossing aside the community that raised him? This thought settled heavily in his chest. He felt Angela's eyes on him, the urgency of their youth echoing louder than ever. Jake was losing control over his destiny. The desire for respect and belonging surged within him. Would he rip apart the very fabric of his upbringing for financial gain? As reconciliation with his father and Angela tugged at his heartstrings, Jake finally realized something incredible. True success wasn't measured by wealth, but the love and integrity woven into every moment. Standing at the edge of a pivotal decision, he felt the pulse of his community alive, hopeful, and waiting. What would he choose? The answers loomed just ahead, shrouded in the mist of the unknown. Jake took a deep breath, the scent of motor oil mingling with fresh-cut grass from outside. The day of repairs had been a whirlwind of nostalgia, joy, and a flicker of despair. He stepped outside the shop, allowing the warm sunlight to wash over him as he scanned the lively scene unfolding before him. Children darted between tables, their shouts ringing out like a chorus of dreams and laughter. For a moment, everything felt right. But as he leaned against the cool metal of the shop, an unsettling thought sliced through the warmth. A reckoning. A choice awaited him. It seemed small in its simplicity yet vast in its implications. Could he become a man who valued shiny checks over the rusted bolts of friendship? Angela appeared from the corner, her face lit up with a grin that, even now, could melt away the distaste of deep-rooted worries. She approached closely, her hands nervously wringing a paper flyer about the automotive program. "I know you're busy with everything, Jake, but can we talk?" Those words ignited a flame in Jake's chest. He felt the urge to run from the conversation and the truths it might bring, yet he stood rooted, drawn into her gaze. "Yeah, let us talk," he replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. They fell into an old rhythm, sitting on the steps outside the garage. Brief silence turned into small talk, but the weight of unfinished business hung around them like an uncomfortable jacket. Jake noticed Angela's fingers tapping restlessly against the flyer. Finally, she took a breath and her voice softened. "I wanted to tell you I've been working with some parents from the school, trying to revive that automotive program. It's not just about teaching kids how to fix cars. It's about giving them hope. Even a few tools can change a life, you know?" Her passion was electric. Memories rushed back, the laughter beneath the car hood on warm summer days. Their heads bent together as they learned from Jake's father. "Reviving it sounds incredible," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But how do we get the funding?" Angela's face lit up. "That's where you come in. I need your help. If we could gather support from the community, they'd back us. They trust you, Jake. You could inspire them to see the value in this program again." He felt her hope washing over him, mingling with his own whirlwind of emotions. "But what if I don't?" she interrupted, her eyes fierce. "Don't talk about what you might lose. Talk about what you stand to gain. This is about building a future for our kids, for your sister, for our community." Reality struck him like a bolt of lightning. The upcoming corporate job felt like a cottage made of sand, ready to wash away with the tide. He could use his skills to forge a legacy here, rooted in integrity. The urge to pave a path for others kicked him hard. The day of repairs was not just another event. It was a promise. The people gathered shared more than oil and grease. They shared dreams, resilience, and loyalty. "I want to help, Angela," he said, the conviction flowing through him. "Let us do it. We'll show them what this community stands for." As their discussion swirled with ideas, the laughter around them tugged at his heart. Together, they could create something beautiful, echoes of laughter that would ring long after the oil had dried. Hope surged within, but uncertainty lingered as well. Would he face the fear of letting go of the corporate glimmer? Just as the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting shadows across the shop, Jake felt a heavy thumping in his chest. Standing on the edge of a decision, he knew the stakes were higher than ever. Could he step away from the allure of wealth and embrace what really mattered? The answer lay just within reach, waiting to unveil itself. What if everything hinged on one brave step forward? Jake could feel the warmth of the day fading, shadows stretching across the ground like reminders of decisions waiting to be made. In the distance, he overheard laughter bouncing off the walls, snippets of conversation blending in with the hum of engines and clinks of tools. It reminded him of simpler times when hope wore a familiar face. Angela was still beside him, her eyes sparkling with unyielding determination. He admired her passion, but a knot tightened in his stomach at the thought of standing against the tide of corporate security he'd been grasping at. "So, what's our first step?" he asked, forcing the words out as he wrestled with doubt. Angela's expression shifted from excitement to focus. "We need to set up a meeting with the school board. I've already talked to a few parents, but we need someone influential to back us. You're that person, Jake. You have a voice. If you can rally support, we can catch their attention." His heart raced at the idea. What if he walked into that room and all eyes turned to him with expectation? The chance to inspire felt intoxicating but frightening. "Okay," he said slowly, weighing the word as if it were a stone in his hand. "I'll do it." "Really?" Her voice was a blend of surprise and joy. She put her hands over her heart, and for a moment, the rest of the world faded. He could see visions of future kids learning, growing, their lives altered by the very program that had shaped his own youth. But what about his own career? Could he let go of the gears that kept his ambitions spinning? That night, Jake lay awake, staring at the ceiling while doubts tumbled through his mind. Would it be enough to ignite passion in a community that had been let down before? His thoughts circled back to his father's workshop, their shared dreams, and the gentle lessons embedded in greasy cardigans and broken-down engines. "Jake!" The echo of his sister's voice pulled him from his ruminating thoughts. She had a natural ability to light up a room, even in the midst of chaos. "Yeah." he replied, half surprised to find her at his door. I heard you're working with Angela on that project. Can I help? She chirped, bouncing on her toes. A smile broke through his uncertainty. Sure. But are you ready for all the hard work? I'm ready for anything, she declared, her excitement infectious. Watching her, he wondered how this simple endeavor had turned into a lifeline not just for him but for others. They quickly made plans, sharing ideas late into the night. It didn't feel like work. It felt like a revival, a chance to reclaim lost memories and create new ones. But beneath the surface of their enthusiasm, a voice whispered doubts. Was he just setting himself up for another failure? As the days passed, they met with parents and teachers, crafting flyers and getting the word out. Slowly, the community began to rally. He felt the weight of expectation and with it the pressure to deliver. Each conversation that sparked interest only added to the intensity. And then came the moment. The meeting with the school board loomed ahead like an approaching storm. Jake stood in front of the mirror, smoothing down his shirt, a rush of memories swirling around, sights of Angela at his side, the laughter of children filling the air, the promise of change within reach. With a firm resolve, he stepped outside, the chill of the evening air buckling against his skin. He took a deep breath and walked toward the meeting, anxiety mixing with excitement like a car revving up for the race of a lifetime. What awaited him inside those doors would not only change the lives of others, but it would reveal the true nature of his dreams and ambitions. Little did he know Jake was about to uncover something far greater than any shiny check could ever offer. Would he finally embrace the legacy he felt destined to create, or would fear pull him back into the depths of doubt? Jake stood at the entrance of the school, heart pounding like the rhythm of a drum. Each step felt heavier than the last, weighted down by thoughts of past failures, and the fear of disappointing those who believed in him. He glanced over his shoulder at Angela, who gave him an encouraging nod. It was a small gesture, but it ignited a flicker of courage within him. Inside the boardroom, the air crackled with anticipation. The long table was filled with stern faces, members of the school board engrossed in papers, some chatting quietly. The smell of polished wood mingled with faint hints of coffee, a stark contrast to the scents of metal and grease from his father's workshop. Remember, they're here to listen, Angela whispered as she touched his arm lightly. Her belief in him felt like a tether, grounding him in that whirlwind of concern. Taking a deep breath, he walked up to the front. A sea of eyes turned toward him and time seemed to stretch. He focused on the chair at the head of the table, where the president of the board sat, her expression unreadable. Jake could feel a lump in his throat. What if he stumbled? What if they laughed? Gathering his thoughts, he remembered those laughter-filled days when he dreamed of a better world for himself and others. The laughter of children echoed in his mind, the bright, unfiltered joy he wished to protect. Thank you for having us, Jake began, his voice steadying as he spoke. Today we're presenting a chance to revitalize our community by reinstating vocational training in our schools. His hands trembled, but he kept going, outlining the importance of the program, his passion shining through. As words flowed from his mouth, he saw nods of approval from parents in the audience. He spoke about the joy of creation, the thrill of learning a trade, and the life-changing moments that shaped his own years as a student. With each sentence, he felt pieces of his earlier hesitations breaking off, liberating him. Moments passed, filled with the tension of silence and rapt attention. Jake noticed expressions shift, curiosity replaced doubt in the eyes of the board member sitting across from him. A weight lifted with every nod of agreement from the parents, his sister beaming with pride at the back. But just as hope anchored itself in his heart, doubt rushed back. What if they say no? Nagged at the edges of his thoughts, braided with the fear of yet another rejection. Just then a hand shot up. It was Mrs. Thompson, an influential member of the board. Jake, can you explain how this program would be funded? She asked, her voice firm but fair. Jake's heart raced. They had a solid plan, but it wasn't he solidly in his mind. We have support from local businesses and grants that can be applied for, shifting the financial burden from the school as much as possible. Exciting, she mused, jotting down notes. But I wonder how much traction it would really get in the community. Look around, Angela chimed in, and her confidence swept through the room. People are here because they care. They want change. Jake watched the faces of parents, teachers, friends, all nodding in agreement. As the discussion deepened, more questions arose. The board members engaged, the light of possibility sparking in their conversations. Each exchange fueled Jake's spirit, turning fear into determination. Finally, as Jake concluded, he felt the room pulse with energy, a united front against the shadows of uncertainty. If only they could harness this momentum. Then, just as he began to relax, Mrs. Thompson leaned forward. "We'll consider it, but I can't promise anything." Hope wavered like a candle flickering in the wind. Could he really believe this was going to work? As the meeting wrapped up, he felt fragile, uncertain. But in that moment, he also felt something different rising within him. Fear transformed into resolve. Would he take the risk to walk this new path, believing the community would rally? Or would he buckle under the weight of lingering doubts? As he stepped out of the boardroom, the clash of possibilities danced in his mind. A chance at real change. Was he ready to embrace it? The moment Jake stepped outside, the sunshine felt blinding, almost overwhelming. He shielded his eyes and inhaled deeply, hoping the warm air would settle his racing heart. He hadn't fully grasped the impact of the meeting until now. It was like stepping off a roller coaster, still feeling the rush but unsure of the next turn. Angela caught up to him, her face aglow with excitement. "You did great, Jake. Seriously, you were amazing up there." He wanted to respond with enthusiasm, but instead he found himself staring at the ground, shifting his weight from foot to foot. Yeah. But what if it wasn't enough? What if they really don't care enough to change? Her expression softened, but her firmness remained. "You can't think like that. You've given them something to think about. Just look at the crowd. People believe in you." She waved back toward the boardroom where parents and teachers lingered, discussing amongst themselves. Jake's eyes followed her finger. They looked engaged, animated even. Maybe Angela was right. Maybe he truly had sparked something. But even as hope sparked a flicker deep inside him, the nagging doubt still loomed, heavy like a storm cloud. After a moment of silence, he voiced the thought that had been gnawing at him. What if the board doesn't see the value in it? What if this was just a waste of time? Angela frowned slightly, a determined glint in her eye. "If they don't see it now, you keep pushing. You keep talking. This is just the beginning." The way she said it made Jake feel both inspired and terrified. "What if they don't want to hear us again? What if they shut me down?" "Then you find another way," she replied strongly, her hand finding his shoulder. "You won't give up, right? People are counting on you. You owe it to them to keep fighting." Her words ignited something in Jake that he had buried for far too long. The weight of responsibility settled over him, brightening the shadows of his fears. He nodded slowly, feeling heat rise to his cheeks. "You're right. I have to believe that this is worth it." As they walked toward the parking lot, Jake's mind raced with ideas. He thought about the local businesses that could potentially lend their support, showing the board that there was real interest. He thought about a community meeting, creating a space for dialogue. But above all, he felt empowered to push forward. Later that evening, in the stillness of his room, Jake sat at his cluttered desk, surrounded by sketches and plans for the program. It was comforting building something from nothing. But when he pulled up the document outlining the proposal, his heart raced as the weight of it all washed over him. What if he really could change things? Then the phone rang, breaking his concentration. It was his mom. "Hey, sweetie," she chirped. "I just wanted to check on you after today. I saw so many people were interested in your ideas. They really believed in you." "Thanks, Mom. But I'm just worried. What if they don't go for it? What if it fails?" His mother paused, then replied with quiet strength. "Failures are just steps toward success, honey. Even if it doesn't work out this time, you're planting seeds. And someday they'll grow." Her words hit close to home. Just like that, the heaviness of uncertainty lightened, shifting into something more manageable. After they hung up, Jake began drafting a plan for community outreach. He could envision posters, flyers, meetings at the community center. He could feel the excitement of a potential packed room. The doubts remained, but now they were distant echoes against a backdrop of hope. It felt exhilarating, stepping into a role that could influence lives. Yet, the greater question lingered at the back of his mind. What would he do if he faced outright opposition? As he closed his laptop, He realized that the hardest battles often lay ahead, in a pursuit of change that could very much define him. And as he finished drafting the plans, a heavy silence fell in the room, the bite of determination sharpening his resolve. Jake didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he understood this. It was time to choose the path that tested his integrity, the one that could lead to real transformation. With that thought lingering, he knew he was at a crossroads, and the decision could change everything. Would he have the strength to fight for something bigger than himself? Jake woke up the next morning with the sun streaming through his window, casting warm golden rays across his cluttered desk. He blinked against the brightness, the weight of yesterday's resolve still lingering in his chest. Today was the day he intended to act, to push his plans forward. He quickly brushed his teeth and pulled on a t-shirt, heart racing with anticipation. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about everyone who had rallied behind his ideas, everyone he could inspire. After breakfast, he grabbed his notes, the community resource documents, and a bright folder filled with sketches, and headed out to the downtown cafe. He had a plan. He needed allies, people who would believe in his vision just as fiercely as Angela had encouraged him to do. As he entered the cafe, the familiar aroma of coffee wrapped around him, warm and inviting. He spotted a couple of local business owners sitting together at a corner table, their conversations punctuated with laughter. Mustering every ounce of courage, he approached them, heart pounding in his chest. "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Rivera." He greeted them with a smile, trying to mask his nerves. "Do you have a minute to chat? I have an idea that I think could really make a difference in our community." They exchanged curious glances, then nodded. Mr. Rivera gestured to an empty chair, inviting him to join. Jake took a deep breath, feeling his palms dampen against the folder he clutched tightly. "I know we've been talking about supporting local youth programs. I have a proposal for a new initiative." As he shared his plans, using words that poured forth fueled by passion, he noticed their initial skepticism fade into interest. It felt exhilarating to watch their eyebrows raise with curiosity, the way they leaned in closer, eager to listen. "What makes you think the board will go for it?" Mrs. Rivera finally asked, her voice gentle, but probing. Jake hesitated, the doubt creeping back momentarily. "I believe it's because it's not just about presenting ideas. It's about showing them the value how much kids need guidance and support, especially during tough times." As they discussed the importance of community involvement, Jake could almost feel the walls between his fears and the future beginning to crumble. They exchanged ideas, and those ideas ignited something within him. He realized he wasn't alone in this after all. By the time he left the cafe, he had secured tentative support from the Riveras and a few other business owners. The meeting was just the start, but the moment felt huge, monumental even. There was an energy buzzing inside him, a realization that change often started small, one conversation at a time. Back at home, Jake felt a spark amid the chaos of his room. He began brainstorming ways to involve more local businesses and community members. Flyers sprang to life on paper, showcasing not just his vision but also personal stories of why this was essential. As dusk approached, Jake sat in the fading light, the sounds of the neighborhood filtering through his open window. He was exhausted but alive with purpose. Just then his phone buzzed. It was a message from Angela, simply saying, "Proud of you. Let us meet tomorrow. I have more ideas." His heart soared at the thought of collaborating again, but an uneasy chill crept in as he recalled the board's power. What if his efforts were met with resistance? What if the close-knit community he had relied on suddenly turned their backs on him? With that lingering question, he began to draw up a list of potential allies, envisioning banners that spoke of unity and purpose. As he wrote, Jake felt the echoes of doubt retrieved in his mind, but he also felt the reassuring pulse of connections forming, eager to help. Tomorrow would be pivotal. Would he find the courage to confront the board head-on, even if it meant facing their disapproval? The uncertainty hung heavy in the air, but so did a sense of undeniable purpose. Jake closed his notebook and stared out at the fading light. Change might be painful and challenging, but he was ready to fight for it if it meant standing up for something greater than himself. And just then he knew that a turning point was drawing near, one that could either solidify his place as a catalyst for change or reshape his path in unforeseen ways. Would this journey spark the revolution he dreamed of? Or would it ignite something deeper within him? Jake woke up the next morning, a sense of urgency buzzing in his chest. He had tossed and turned, replaying his conversation with the Riveras a dozen times. He felt ready, yet uncertain about what lay ahead. Today wasn't just another day. It was the day he would face the board. After a quick breakfast, he scrambled to gather his sketches and flyers, his heart racing with a mixture of determination and fear. He had spent the night refining his message, crafting every word carefully, but the real challenge loomed ahead. He needed to convey the importance of his vision and the value of investing in the youth of their community. As he arrived at the community center, he noticed a small crowd gathering outside the boardroom. Familiar faces mingled together in quiet conversation. Among them was Angela, her presence a beacon of encouragement. She waved him over, her smile warm and friendly. "Hey, you've got this," she said, her eyes sparkling. "Just remember why you're here." Just then Jake felt his stomach twist. What if they don't want to hear it? What if I fail? Angela placed her hand on his shoulder, grounding him. "You're not here just for yourself. You have a vision for the community. That matters. Speak from your heart." He nodded, taking a deep breath, drawing strength from her words. The group began to filter into the boardroom, and Jake felt as though he was moving through molasses. Each step felt heavy, weighed down by the expectations of those who had invested their hopes in him. Inside the boardroom, the atmosphere shifted. The room was stark and filled with a tension that prickled at his skin. Members of the board sat around a conference table, their expressions stoic. Jake took a seat at the front, his palms sweaty against the cool metal of the chair. "Good morning," the board president said, his voice authoritative. "We understand you have a proposal to present." With that prompt, Jake swallowed hard. He glanced at the sketches and notes laid neatly in front of him. "Thank you for meeting with me today," he began, his voice shaky at first. "I believe we have a responsibility to invest in our youth programs. We can't ignore the struggles kids are facing right now." As he spoke, Jake's nerves began to dissipate. He poured his passion into every word, sharing heartfelt stories of kids who have faced adversity and the transformative power of community support. He could feel the board's attention shifting as they leaned in, and he became more animated, feeding off their engagement. But just as he was gaining momentum, a board member interjected. "That's all well and good, Jake, but how do you justify the financial investment? We have a budget to consider." The room fell silent and Jake's heart sank. This was the moment he had feared, the hard truth of numbers and dollars. But he recalled Angela's encouraging words. He leaned forward, determined. "It's not just about money. It's about lives. Each dollar spent is an investment in our children, our future. When we support these programs, we reduce crime rates, improve education, and foster community spirit. This is about building our home, not just balancing a budget." As he articulated his point, he noticed a shifting among board members. Some nodded while others scribbled down notes. Hope surged within him. Maybe he could do this. He finished his presentation with a call to action, inviting board members to join him in not just listening, but actively engaging in this mission. As the last words left his mouth, the weight of anticipation hung heavy in the air. When he sat back down, a mix of exhilaration and anxiety pulsed through him. The president cleared his throat, the room waiting with bated breath. "We appreciate your passion, Jake," he said slowly. "We need to discuss this before making a decision. Please wait outside." Jake stepped outside, feeling the warmth of the sun wash over him. Had he made an impact? He paced back and forth, anticipation tightening in his chest. Angela joined him moments later, her eyes sparkling with pride. "You were amazing. I felt the energy shift in the room." He smiled back, exhaustion creeping into his bones. "But what if they still say no? What if they don't see what I see?" Just then the board secretary opened the door. "Jake, they would like to see you again." His heart raced, tension coiling tighter in his chest as he stepped forward. Would they embrace his vision or break him for good? As he entered the boardroom again, one question echoed in his mind. What would this moment decide for his future? Jake stepped back into the boardroom, every eye now fixed on him. The heavy door shut with a soft click, sealing him in with a mix of anticipation and dread. His heart pounded, louder than the silence that engulfed the space. "Thank you for your patience, Jake," the president said, motioning for him to stand. We've reviewed your presentation, and we have some questions. With each word, Jake felt the blood rush from his head. The moment of truth was here, and all he could do was brace himself. The board had shifted from passive observers to active participants in his dream. How do you plan to ensure these programs will generate long-term benefits for our community? Another board member asked, her expression scrutinizing. Jake inhaled deeply, searching for the right words. It's about sustainability. We'll collaborate with local businesses, involve families, and leverage community volunteers. This isn't just a one-time initiative or a check-off on a list. It's about creating a culture of support and empowerment. Heads nodded slightly, but doubt still lingered in the air. He could feel the weight of their skepticism. And what about the immediate costs? A younger member interjected. Can you guarantee this won't just drain resources? Jake's chest tightened. This was a battle between his heart and their spreadsheets. Every investment has risk, but the real tragedy is to do nothing. Think about the kids who slip through the cracks. Investing now can break cycles of poverty and violence, fostering hope where there was none. Isn't that worth every penny? A murmur rippled through the board, but Jake wasn't done yet. He leaned forward, connecting eyes with the president. Imagine a future where our kids thrive, not just survive. Picture them growing into leaders not just because we gave them money, but because we gave them support, opportunities, and the belief that they matter. The tension shifted again. Some board members exchanged glances that hinted at possibilities he hadn't dared to dream of. But the president's face remained unreadable. We appreciate your passion, Jake. It's inspiring, he replied, voice steady. However, that enthusiasm alone may not persuade us. We'll need a detailed plan with concrete numbers. Can you have something ready by next week? Hope surged within Jake, but doubt clawed at the edges. It was a lifeline tossed his way, yet it held weight. Yes, I can do that, he said, the confidence settling back into his voice. Great. We'll reconvene then. Thank you for your time. With that, the meeting was dismissed. As he stepped outside, the air felt lighter, freedom washing over him. He had faced them down, had fought for what he believed in, and he wasn't finished yet. Angela was waiting, her face radiating excitement. You were fantastic. I saw the spark in that room. You have the potential to ignite real change. Jake's heart swelled with a mixture of fear and hope. They want numbers and plans now. Feels overwhelming. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. Just keep that fire alive within you. And don't lose sight of why you started this journey, she encouraged as he drove home. He felt a mixture of doubt and determination. That pivotal moment loomed ahead. This was his chance to prove that integrity could triumph over money. But as he pulled into his driveway, a chilling thought slid into his mind. Would the board welcome his detailed plan? Or was there a different agenda at play, waiting just beneath the surface? With that question gnawing at him, Jake turned off the engine and stepped out into the growing dusk. Everything he worked for hinged on the next week, and he couldn't shake the feeling that the stakes were climbing higher. Would he be prepared for whatever trials awaited him? Jake spent the next few days submerged in his thoughts, haunted by the board's skepticism. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw their faces and heard their questions. The gravity of the task ahead weighed heavily on his shoulders. He understood what was at stake, not just his project but futures hanging in the balance. His evenings turned into a chaotic blend of spreadsheets, community input, and late-night brainstorming sessions. He placed every piece of feedback on colorful sticky notes that littered his living room wall. Ideas flowed as he made connections between different aspects of his plan. He took every doubt they had expressed and turned it into a challenge to be met. Early Saturday, the sunlight spilled into his home, making the chaos feel less daunting. With fresh coffee in hand, he pulled out his notes and took a deep breath. The day felt promising. He envisioned families smiling around community activities, children laughing as they learned new skills. This was his guiding star. But as he typed up the proposal, his mind wandered back to his youth. He recalled a time when he was just a kid, sitting in the backseat of his dad's car on the way to baseball practice. His father had taught him that every great player started as a rookie, facing overwhelming odds. You've got to believe in the game, son, he said, and dedicate yourself. The world rewards courage. Courage, Jake muttered under his breath. Maybe that was what he needed now as the afternoon turned to evening. He printed out a rough draft of his proposal. Words flowed from his heart. They didn't just represent numbers, they represented lives. He felt hopeful, yet doubt nipped at him. What if it wasn't enough? Would they really see the vision he had? The next day, Angela stopped by to review his proposal. As Jake shared his ideas, her enthusiasm fueled his fire. This feels powerful. You're painting a picture that's going to resonate with them, she said, her eyes shining. Jake smiled, but the doubt still whispered in the back of his mind. They wouldn't just care about his passion. They want proof, metrics and forecasts. What if they still think it's too idealistic? He asked, vulnerability slipping into his voice. Angela put her hand on his shoulder. You need to show them the truth. Connect those numbers to real lives, make them feel the impact through storytelling. You're not just selling a project. You're inviting them to join a movement. Her words hit him with intensity. A movement. This could be his rallying cry. With renewed determination, Jake dove back into his work. As he revised his plan once more, the urgency lit a fire in his chest. Every statistic became a story. Every risk was framed by the hope it could provide. As night enveloped him, he felt an unshakable sense of purpose. Monday loomed closer, and the dread of the unknown crept back in. Would they appreciate the depth behind the numbers? As he read through his document one last time, he pressed his pen against the final page with a question. What if our kids deserve a chance? As he sealed the envelope, a mixture of excitement and anxiety coursed through him. This wasn't just a proposal, it was his heart and soul encapsulated. But when Jake opened his email for a final check, he found an unexpected note from the president of the board. Let us touch base before the meeting, it read. Confusion and anxiety gripped him. What could that mean? He hadn't even been given the chance to present yet. Was this a sign of support or a reaction to something he hadn't anticipated? An unsettling feeling gnawed at him. Set on edge, Jake stared at the blinking cursor on his screen. How would he fare in this high-stakes game? Would his dreams crumble under the pressure? Or would they offer him a lifeline he desperately needed? Jake woke up the next morning feeling a mix of nerves and determination. Today was the day he would present his proposal to the board. He had spent hours perfecting the details, combining numbers with passionate stories that showcased the lives behind the statistics. The sun poured through the window, casting a warm glow over his cluttered desk, a reminder that today could be the start of something profound. He arrived at the community center early, his heart racing with both excitement and anxiety. The air felt thick with possibility as he walked past the gathered crowd, all faces illuminated with hope. Angela was there, her smile bolstering his courage. You can do this, she said, her words like a buoy in stormy waters. Jake entered the boardroom, his palms clammy against the crisp folder that held his proposal. Board members chatted amongst themselves, and he caught sight of Mrs. Thompson, her expression unreadable. Settling into his seat, Jake's heart thundered in his chest, the weight of every expectation pressing down on him. Thank you for coming, the board president said, his voice deep and steady. Jake, we'd like to hear your proposal. As Jake began, he felt a surge of adrenaline. He spoke with conviction, blending real-life stories with analytical insights. He described kids in his community who relied on support, a lifeline that this program would provide. He could see heads nodding as he spoke, a flicker of hope sparking within him. Just when the conversation flowed seamlessly, a board member interjected. Those are compelling stories, but where is the funding going to come from, Jake? In this economy, we need to prioritize. Jake swallowed hard, a lump forming in his throat. This was at the moment of reckoning. I understand, but every cent we invest is an investment in a brighter future. Kids with access to programs like this have the chance to redirect their lives. The returns will be felt in safer streets, better job prospects, and a more vibrant community. A silence settled. The room felt electric, hanging on to his words. As he concluded, he recognized a hesitation, a flicker of doubt in their eyes. Had he connected? Mrs. Thompson leaned forward, breaking the silence. What steps do you propose to ensure sustainability after the project begins? He had anticipated this question. I envision partnerships with local businesses, community workshops, and a steady stream of parental involvement. We'll create a self-sustaining model where people feel that they are part of something larger than themselves. There were murmurs, a stir of interest. Jake felt the tension ebb. A wave of shared understanding washing over the room. Then came the moment that took his breath away. The president of the board spoke again, his voice deep with thoughtfulness. Jake, we see the potential here, and we're willing to support your outline provided you can bring together the community to leverage further funding. It won't be easy, but we believe in your passion. Relief washed over him like cool rain after a dry spell. Absolutely, Jake replied excitedly. We can create community events, fundraisers, all of it will drive engagement. We can. A board member raised a hand, cutting him off gently. Let us take it one step at a time. We'll set a date to reconvene. But know this, your presentation has made an impact today. Jake blinked at the board, disbelief mingling with excitement. Thank you all so much. As he stepped back, a wave of applause erupted, a sound he had not anticipated. There was warmth, support, and a renewed spirit binding them together. Angela rushed over, her eyes wide with joy. You did it, Jake. They're backing you. Jake could feel the tears prickling at the corners of his eyes. I couldn't have done it without you all, everyone who believed in this dream. As he left the boardroom, the hallway felt brighter, alive with hope. The weight of uncertainty had lifted. He had chosen to embrace integrity over a tempting financial opportunity. He had embraced his legacy. Over the next few weeks, the community rallied. Posters were hung, and flyers spread like wildfire. Faces he had known his entire life began to show up, eager to lend a hand. Parents, business owners, and children united. One evening, as he stood at the center of a bustling community event, he found a moment to breathe it all in. The laughter of kids ran like streams around him, while their parents chatted animatedly about the possibilities. The energy felt electric, vibrant. Jake surveyed the scene, a radiant smile blooming on his face. He turned to Angela, who was busy engaging a group of excited children with hands-on demonstrations. This is it, isn't it? He remarked, awe-filled. It's just the beginning, Jake. You're building something real here. He nodded, gazing out at the gathering. Knowing this was more than a project, it was a revolution against the silence, a resurgence of hope. As the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the scene, Jake realized he had found his place and purpose. They were reweaving the fabric of their community, stronger than ever before. This was what he had fought for, life-changing transformation sparked not by money, but by integrity, love, and a shared vision for brightness ahead. As the evening song of crickets began, Jake could feel the warmth of fulfillment. They were all in this together. He had chosen to embrace a path worth fighting for, where love and community thrived. Now it was time to take the next step. Today you've seen what it means to embrace integrity and community. Don't let this moment slip by. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss our next exclusive stories that inspire transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm so we can keep sharing these powerful messages. Comment below your reactions and feelings about Jake's journey. Your thoughts matter. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us spread hope together.